Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jojin Movie So Awesome. I'm Joe.
I'm Wonjin.
Today we get to finally talk about Ridley Scott's Napoleon. In Korea, it was released in theaters on December 6th. That's why we are doing this review belatedly. Spoilers ahead, full spoilers ahead for
Major spoilers.
every Ridley Scott movie ever plus this movie. Here we go. Hey, Wonjin, what you want to go first or
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I was looking very much forward to this movie.
Me too, man.
Yeah, it was highly anticipated. And especially since Dune Part 2 was delayed.
Yeah.
It was a movie I was very looking forward to.
We wanted the epic.
Yeah. And, you know, my feelings are kind
Shout
of
out to ZZ, Scott Walker, and Lee Chan Hong. Yeah.
I got mixed feelings because, well, first of all, whenever I watch a Ridley Scott movie based in, like, you know, times of war,
Yeah.
I always expect like a spectacle, just like what we saw in the Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven and all these things. It delivered. You know, the battle scenes, they were epic. I was really happy with it. But, you know, the overall pacing of the movie and the things that the movie covers, it to me it kind of felt rushed. Because I understand that this movie was trying to focus on Napoleon's life and his relationship with Josephine and also his campaigns. And I just couldn't shake off the feeling that these elements were not like very well mixed together. What I felt was it kind of felt like, you know, the theatrical version kind of felt like Ridley Scott just wanted to show us what Napoleon went through, like all the battles that he went through. It's like boom, 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 boom. This is what happened. The end. Hey,
man, listen. I felt like there was a great movie in there somewhere. That's how I really felt. Because I love the beginning. I love the ending. By the way, none of that is factual. That's artistically. Like, let me tell you something. Napoleon did not watch Marie Antoinette get her head chopped up, okay? But I love the... Because it's like only in cinema. Because the intro, I love the intro because within 2-3 minutes... Ridley Scott is conveying what this world is, what state it is, and how a guy like Napoleon may or may not be emperor. And the ending was brilliant too. I like the ending.
Yeah, I like the ending.
By the way, his conversation with Wellington, that's bullshit too. Oh, I'm sorry. We use a lot of curse words and adult themes, so you have been warned. That's bullshit. But I like the thematic device because I felt like... So you know what my problem is? I feel like this is another case of Kingdom of Heaven. Because I watched Kingdom of Heaven, the theatrical first, and then the director's cut. Let me tell you something. In theater cut, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I thought this was like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
And then,
that's a great point. That's what it feels like. PowerPoint presentation.
And in the Kingdom of Heaven director cuts, you know what? You know what's most noticeable? The build-up becomes longer. See, you know what my problem with this movie is? Like... I felt like there was like 30 minutes missing in the beginning before Napoleon became emperor.
It feels like there's a hole. And sometimes from, you know, a major campaign to the next major campaign, there isn't much material in between. And like you said, Kingdom of Heaven, the theatrical version, and the director's cut, I think they're just two different movies.
No, because, like, you know what the problem is? Like, we're supposed to care for Napoleon, but... This, like, at least the theatrical cut, it almost felt like he was like a game character where, like, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, like, we're supposed to assume that, like, you know what it is? Like, Napoleon is called the Great for a reason, man. Like, he's like Mao Zedong or Alexander the Great in the fact that when we read history... Unlike today where we get a video camera everywhere we go, there are people that were considered charismatic, okay? And it's unexplained because when we look at a portrait of Mao Zedong, we're like, he's a very chubby person. Well, he's not even handsome.
Who's balding.
Yes, but everybody around him attests to his charisma, right? And Napoleon was such a figure. And you know, I had a huge problem with... First of all, I love the Josephine Drama, by the way. That was very interesting. And it was very British. But I also wanted to see the military leader that Napoleon was.
Yeah. And we only get glimpses of it, only in the major campaigns. But, you know, is the movie going to focus on him as that military leader, or is it going to focus on him and his relationship with Josephine? And it feels like the movie, the theatrical cut, just didn't have enough time to handle both.
I mean, listen, though in its defense, though, like I said, I see some greatness in it because, first of all, Joaquin Phoenix, I thought he did a better job than I thought he would. Because, you know, the thing about movies is they don't have to look exactly like the original character, especially when it's a true character. But here's the problem, though. Like, Napoleon sending Josephine those letters is actually factually accurate. He was known to be very, in today's term, insecure. I'm sure all men were insecure back then, especially when you're an emperor or somebody like that. But you have to balance that out with the brilliance of him. You know? Because when we talk about Steve Jobs, we don't talk about just him being an asshole on an elevator and firing somebody. We talk about the iPhone. But here, what was really lacking... Like the military shots were shot brilliantly, but there are like 3-minute dialogues missing in between. I want to know why Napoleon thought like genius.
And I'm not also happy with the scene where he meets his old soldiers after he returns from Elba.
Oh yeah.
And he kind of convinces his old soldiers to join him. But like you said, something's missing, because before he had been exiled to the island of Elba, he basically led like over 500,000 of his soldiers to death in Russia. Why would they ever be persuaded within 2 minutes?
Wait, shout out. Sounds more like they tried to recreate a story. I kind of agree. No, but Wonjin, back to your point. But
a love story.
Oh, recreate a love story. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Hey, but to your point, Wonjin, see, this is the problem with the movie. Like, some people defecting to Napoleon is true though, because let me give you a real life example. When Mao Zedong's doctor released I forget the name of the biography, but it was a very unflattering one of Mao Zedong. People in China, people who read it were shocked that their great leader had these flaws and this inhumanity. So I'm talking about like the Hitler effect, you know? And so, see, but we didn't get the chance to see the Hitler effect of Napoleon.
Yeah.
So that your point is, you were because since there were no evidence given of his charisma, you were shocked that the soldiers were automatically turned. But that's actually based. I mean, that's a condensed version. But in reality, a lot of French were still loyal to Napoleon.
So, for example, another Ridley Scott movie, the Gladiator.
Yeah,
in the Gladiator, Maximus also attempts to rally his old soldiers and try to strike Rome from the outside with the help of the senator, but he fails. And when he talks to his old who was the guy with the scar?
Yeah.
Anyway, one of his men. He says that his old soldiers are waiting for him. But I'm convinced by what he said, because in the beginning of the movie, we see that although he's a commander and general, like him, like leading his cavalry into the war and fighting in the middle of the battle, Napoleon does a similar thing. But like you said, it's missing a lot of the dialogues.
Yeah, but the big difference between the Gladiator and Napoleon, you make a great point, by the way. I agree with you completely. But Gladiator is just fiction, because I think I said this on our podcast 2 weeks ago. Napoleon's life is really well documented, and so Gladiator, well, it's fiction too, because Commodus didn't kill his father, Marcus Aurelius, and it's all Maximus was actually not really a general or gladiator. It doesn't matter. It's so back in history that it doesn't matter. But the problem with Napoleon is that it's closer to modern times. And
his every move in his campaign, they're all documented.
Exactly. And because we're reaching a pre-modern age where there's so much information. So, and see, here's the thing. Hey, Zezzy, you bring up, they tried to recreate a love story. You know what, Zezzy, though? I loved the love story. I loved it. Except, I hate to be binary, but if there's a yin to Napoleon and Josephine's toxic relationship, I want the yang of Napoleon being a Caesar-type crazy motherfucker. And, he's a Corsican. Think about this. Like, in Korea, basically like a Jeju farm boy came to Seoul. That's not a knock on Jeju Island. We have a small island with 1 million people. Our population is 5 million, okay? It's like a guy from the provinces who barely speaks Soulish, Seoul Korean, comes to become the fucking emperor, man. Where's that story? Like, and listen, in Ridley Scott's defense, I had no problem with them speaking English, though. Listen, but at least convey that he's like a provincial, like a hick, quote unquote hick. That's not a knock against provincial people. I'm saying because there were scenes in the early part of the movie where I felt like the those guys who chopped off heads, like I felt like they could have added a scene where they kind of looked down on him. Like a farm boy or something demeaning, but we barely get a hint of his really bad background.
Yeah. And another disappointment for me was the plotting of him becoming the emperor.
Oh yeah,
that could have had a lot of political drama, but instead Ridley Scott, at least in the theatrical version, chose to just skip all that and just head straight to coronation. It just happens. So I thought there was going to be like a build-up of that process of him becoming the emperor. Yeah. The betrayal and then all this political maneuvers. But it had none of that. This council guy just mentions him becoming king. And then he just becomes king.
Yeah, see, hey, Wonjin, I agree with you 200%. There are 2 scenes missing there. At least 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And I was because here's the thing about the difference between Gladiator and this movie is Gladiator, by the time you see a Roman general in a gladiator pit, you're already thinking this is bullshit. This is not real.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, but I'm having a good time, guys. But when it's Napoleon the Great, I don't care how much of a history buff or you are. When you went to school, you heard about Napoleon and the Battle of Waterloo, etc. It's just oh wait, probably they thought they could skip it to avoid making it boring, since everyone knows so much on Napoleon history. Yeah, but that makes me. Hey, Zezzy, I agree with you. That makes me think a lot. Where maybe they should have made this a part 1 and part 2.
Okay, that's also a good idea.
The first one is the rise of Napoleon, and the second one is the fall of Napoleon.
Yeah. So the first one could have all that political intrigue, and it ends with
and the
war. Ends with him crowning himself.
Yeah. Because hey, listen, the coronation scene was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it was just like that painting.
Yeah. So it's bullshit, by the way. but I see. I love that artistic license. This hey guys, in Ridley Scott's defense, this can only happen in film, and he did deliver some scenes like that was brilliant. Like Napoleon slapping Josephine is also bullshit, but it was really good. Yeah, Zezzy, that would have been better if they had 2 parts. Yeah, because that was so good. Because hey, shout out to the Josephine actor.
Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby.
We saw her in Mission Impossible.
She looks like Josephine's portraits. She does, and I thought the makeup was good too, because in real life she is older than Napoleon. So the later stages with the hair, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but I thought they conveyed that really well. And Joaquin Phoenix plays such a boyish character really well, like his petulantness. One of the funniest, this, I think. This is a very British film, because when Napoleon, forgive my French, fucking the brains out of Josephine, and Josephine made this face whatever, hurry the fuck up, I laughed out loud.
No, the part that made me laugh is, when he's horny, he makes that sounds like. Yeah.
Listen, those were. See, listen. I can see why the French hated this film, because listen, if you're gonna do that, which is like not proven, by the way. Like psychology, like Freud is born later than this time period, guy. Like, I also wanted to see the. You mentioned it so well, Maximus. You know, because in Gladiator, Maximus is admired by his troop, and it's conveyed really well with few scenes. You know, even in Kingdom of Heaven, the Salahadin badass scenes were there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, Salahadin, the moment
I'm not any man, I'm Saladin.
Yeah. Not only that, but when he rises to meet Edward Norton, you see the dignity in him.
That's right.
Like here, like... See, hey, and here's another thing, guys. By the 19th century... No fucking general rode a horse and rode to battle, okay? That's all bullshit, too. None of that is real, okay? Napoleon did not pull out a saber and go
charge.
Yeah, no, that did not happen. And that was like a gladiator thing. But see, if you're going to do that, like Braveheart, which is another bullshit film, but plays well. Like, listen, like you need to make us care. I mean, listen, here's the thing. Joaquin Phoenix did such a great job acting him. I was interested in Napoleon the character, but I never got the full like dish.
That's right.
It's like I saw a good advertisement and then I got the real product without like any manual or the full parts.
I agree. So what we need to wonder, I mean, just like what we wrote in the title, what we wonder is maybe this is also a trailer. We've experienced this from Kingdom of Heaven. And it's also something I experienced in The Covenant and also Prometheus. I was dying to see like a director's cut because I thought that maybe there's something more that Ridley Scott wanted to show us. But sadly, there's no director's cut. But we know for sure that this movie is going to have a director's cut. And judging from what Ridley Scott did with Kingdom of Heaven, I'm pretty sure that the director's cut is going to unveil a lot more and kind of answer all our mysteries.
Yeah, you gotta remember, like even in Kingdom of Heaven, I think the theatrical cut was like 140 on 1 hour 50 minutes, and basically the director's cut added just 50 minutes. And 50 minutes could be long, but I think nowadays like director cut is acceptable because we're used to watching long shows. And listen, like the frustration with this film is Listen, in the movie's defense, though, I was never bored, though.
Yeah, I agree.
There was always something to see. There was a cool scene. The acting was great. And also, like, I also felt like... Remember in Kingdom of Heaven, Salahadin's, like, right-hand man? He was very interesting.
Yeah.
Without conveying a lot. Here, I felt like there were a lot of cuts to, like, Napoleon's brother. Hey, a lot of like French names are hard to pronounce for me. I'm Korean, so like a lot of those guys that were like besides Napoleon, those guys are famous on their own right. Like, so I would have loved to get more details from the Revolution as well. You know, and that's just a shame. And listen, Wellington is a legend in his own right, but I felt like there were scenes missing about Wellington too.
Yeah, because you know
he kind of came off as an asshole.
And he also has some dialogues towards the end of the movie, but it was not sufficient. So it kind of confused me because like you said, I was thinking that this guy must have had some more dialogues. Because if Ridley Scott gave him these dialogues, but you know these dialogues don't really portray him well enough, there had to be more. Yeah, because like I'm not knocking Wellington. I'm saying in this movie he came off an asshole because you got to understand, like Napoleon is like undefeated. He discounts Russia, and then Wellington just comes out of nowhere and beats him. Like I'm like, who are you, man? Like listen, like. In the historical Wellington is a legendary general because I think he's undefeated and he's like a defensive genius during that kind of gun warfare. But like in this movie, I get none of that. And you know why that doesn't matter? Because I don't see how Napoleon is a military genius in the fucking first place. That's true. And you know how they handle Napoleon's cavalry? Yeah. By like forming that square so that they can't go through. I mean, they must have excluded a few scenes, like planning that out. Let me tell you something, Wanjin. I'm pretty sure that scene is also bullshit. Like, cavalry was used, but
Okay, never mind. Let's talk about this later because I'm gonna get frustrated because I love history. Listen, I'm not pretending I'm a Napoleon expert, guys. I just know, like from common sense, that scene. It seems to me very unlikely in a 19th century battle.
Yeah.
It felt more 300 years ago, maybe during Mongol times, where infantry and cavalry fought each other. Guys, remember, this is a place where there are cannons and guns. No fucking gunman go square up like a fucking Russian. I mean, I'm sure they did make those positions in desperate times, and the cavalry was used very like differently. They were like You can't think of them as like medieval knights because they were already fully aware of guns. They were used as like shock troops behind, like the Romans would do almost. I think. Hey, don't quote me on this. I'm just saying, like when I watched it, there was two things going on in my mind. That scene looks cool as fuck, but this scene is bullshit. It doesn't make sense. But And hey, listen, Napoleon giving Wellington the nod, that was alright because they were like, I think those two actors were great.
Yeah, that was like that moment of game recognized game.
Yeah. But listen, where's the rap battle before? It just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And you know who I was fascinated by? That the Russian Tsar.
Oh, the Alexander II or something.
Yeah, no, because I thought that was a great theme because like. The other guy is the Holy Roman Emperor, Emperor, by the way. These are well-known guys. I just felt like it could have... Listen, I felt like Napoleon wanted to highlight Napoleon's giant ego, the way Tolstoy did, because the guy who admires Napoleon gets fucked in the ass in that novel. So this is basically something going on there. But I felt like Napoleon underestimating the Russian Emperor could have been like an irony in the film, because... he was underestimated, and then he became emperor, and then suddenly he's like, we're both emperors, right? And then as an audience, we were like, hey, dude, you were not an emperor like 15 years ago, man. But you're underestimating this quote-unquote kid who might be more than meets the eye. Yeah, I believe, I believe French was one of the first countries that started using fire, if I'm not missing it, so I see your point, yeah.
So I think that would have been a great, like a mirroring of Napoleon, and also in terms of, like a theme. He's like the young lion who's coming up.
Oh yeah,
and the old lion fails to see.
You hit the fucking nail. That's beautiful. That's what I want. I thought there was something going on there.
Yeah,
because you rarely get to see like. Because it was the only scene before Wellington where Napoleon meets another general, and not general, but he is the leader of the army,
the commander.
Yeah, so I thought that was actually fascinating, and those scenes were great because that kid actor, he was fucking beautiful. Because I like the actor conveyed like there were some dialogues where he's underestimated, right? I was like, that's irony, because Napoleon being at least in this film, he's supposed to be a pussy horny buffoon. So I'm like, hey man, like, why are you underestimating this kid?
Yeah. And it's also confusing for me. There's a moment where remember Napoleon had the Continental blockade, and he needed Russia's help, but for some reason, the Tsar basically like breaks their agreement and basically betrays their agreement. There's no context for this. I mean, it's also skipped, and I feel like there are a lot of holes in the overall plot in the theatrical version. And it's probably never gonna happen. But if Ridley Scott is watching this right now, he would probably be saying. And he's probably insulting us that they're all in the director's cut.
No, he doesn't give a fuck about it. First of all, that's very clear. But hey, I want to also see some upsides to this, though. I love the Josephine drama. I almost felt like this could have been like an HBO series where the war is completely ignored, and it's like a play almost, and we see just Napoleon and Josephine.
Yeah, and like their interactions between every campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just ignore the war thing altogether, because those scenes were. Hey, first of all, hey, I was kind of shocked how historically accurate they were. Because Josephine did cheat first.
And, she narrates the letters.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're all true.
Yeah,
it's what's actually written on the letters.
Or at least it's like a good conveyance of the core of those letters. Because those letters did survive, by the way, just for you case you don't know. So I felt like, see, that's why now it makes sense 4 hours. Because, Wonjin, remember what we said? Like, we were like, hey, I asked you, when do you think it will end? You were like, hey, it's probably not going to cover Waterloo. You said that. I was like, this movie covers Waterloo. Everything. I was like, 4 hours.
From the beginning to the end.
Hey, but in Ridley Scott's defense, though, like, what's that movie? Once Upon a Time in America? That's also 4 hours, right? So maybe there is a brilliant 4-hour movie here.
Yeah. And I strongly suspect that there's a lot more in the director's cut.
Yeah.
Because I remember the shock I felt after watching the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven. Because there were different movies.
Yeah.
It's like a completely different movie experience.
It's so funny how, like, just like a car, like when a few parts are missing, even just like a small component, the car doesn't move.
Yeah.
Here, I definitely felt like, because there were scenes where I felt like there was pathos. When my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes is when Joaquin Phoenix kills that scene for me. Like, he asked those two girls.
So where'd you hear that?
Yeah. No, but it was Joaquin Phoenix played it in a way where I wasn't completely offended by his arrogance, sort of. Like, it was almost like, it was like like, cause I love those scenes. It was like, cause there's a humanity there too. I'm not saying he's not a tyrant motherfucker.
I love the fact that he throw those grapes at the girl.
Yeah, it was cause like, but for that scene to work, we need to see him do some Alexander Great shit. Cause like, listen, guys, there are a few leaders that get the title The Great. Oh, Zezzy, how come the director takes out only the best parts of the movie? Something like y'all don't deserve to see the good scenes. Yeah. Hey, maybe really was angry at Apple. He's like, you think you gave me $200 million and I'm gonna bow down? I'm gonna spend all of it. And then, fuck you. Hey, but because no, but hey, I want to say this though. Shout out to Ridley Scott, man. Like, cause this film, despite not being a perfect film by any measure, and I haven't seen the director's cut yet, but I wouldn't match it with Ridley Scott's greatest pieces. It kind of felt like, for me, like Irishman for Scorsese.
Oh, that's a great comparison. I think I felt the same thing.
In that it hit all the Ridley Scott elements.
Yeah.
Because the scenes were beautiful. Like, the ice scene, like, the trailer fooled me. It's not them falling in the water that's horrible. The camera actually shows us them dying in the water.
Yeah.
And that
just like in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. No, and that was really horrifying.
And I thought, from the trailer, it feels like he basically fires his cannons as they advance, but it's not. It's when they're retreating that he basically drowns them all.
No, and the scene was filmed so great because that was one of those scenes where it was like, I don't want to watch, but I can't turn my eyes away because the scene is so beautiful, and it was brutal, and like, it was such a cold thing to do, and it kind of conveyed like the price of Napoleon's conquest. But I wish the movie also kind of defended Napoleon a little too, in the fact that, listen, if everything is chaos, like, who is the gangster here? Like I wish there was an extra scene of the other countries beside France who are attacking France because they were worried about their own power, by the way. Oh shit, no more kings. Kings can't be chopped their heads off. We're gonna fuck this country up. And we never liked France in the first place. They did some horrible things in Italy. But let me tell you something. It's not like Napoleon is like an outlier among like the people of those times.
Yeah.
Oh, which was your favorite scene of Napoleon? Oh yeah, Zezzy. Why don't you go first, Wenji?
I think my favorite was It's kind of hard to choose, but I really like that I really liked his Russian campaign, and I also liked his campaign in was it Toulon?
Oh, Toulon.
Toulon, when taking that castle back and shooting those British ships. I like that part.
Yeah. Hey, the guy giving him orders, he's he's like Algerian French, by the way. He's a very he rose to stardom in a movie called The Prophet. It's a gangster film. He's a great actor, and I wish Ridley Scott gave him more time, just like he gave more time to Naomi Rapace in Prometheus and not Alien Covenant. But my favorite scene was one of my favorite scene is the divorce scene with Josephine.
Oh,
yeah, because the camera goes to the it's such a British film because British films tend to make fun of the manners, right? The hypocrisy of the manners, right? And I can see why the French hated it because when Napoleon slapped Josephine, the camera turns to the other people, and it's a beautiful portrait, right? But I was like, so you guys are really like eunuchs, huh? You guys don't react, so it didn't happen. The emperor slaps the empress. I thought that was really smart by Ridley Scott, because that was listen, when a scene is done smartly, every history buff is willing to forgive it. Let me tell you something, because let me give you an example of Braveheart. When those guys wore those kimono dresses and roared into the English, I didn't give a fuck if that was factually incorrect. It was cool as fuck.
That's
and
right.
we knew why they were doing it.
Yeah.
So, there's also, hey, here's the thing, though. Zezzy, you said it was a love story. I still felt like even the love story, there were some scenes missing. Because I wish there were more interaction. Hey, let me tell you something. For our subscriber who don't know, Napoleon was actually very loyal to Josephine's kids. Even after his son was born, he took care of those kids, non-biological kids. I thought there was, because remember when Napoleon comes back and then meets Josephine's daughter?
Yeah, and here's the sad news.
Yeah, first of all, that's bullshit too. Josephine died before he came back, so Napoleon came back for his own reason. So Ridley Scott made it really weird. But I can't tell if this is a selfish act or a bullshit act. But I wish there were more interaction where Napoleon's humanity is also shown too, because he was a very human person. Listen, unless you're a human person or you can act a human person, your troops don't admire you. Because Napoleon was one of those dudes like Caesar,
and Napoleon especially, he started from an ordinary officer to an emperor, so he has a lot to relate to his soldiers compared to the emperors of those days. Those guys were born into royalty. Yeah. And they don't know what's going on in the lives of the ordinary. Yeah. So that's why he probably has all that support from his men. But the movie doesn't give us enough time portraying that.
Listen, the American saying goes, the boy can leave Brooklyn, the Brooklyn stays with the boy, right? I thought I could see some Corsican or the soldier shit from him too, man. And Napoleon's one of Napoleon's famous quotes. He has a lot of quotes, by the way, which none of them were used in the movie. One of his quotes is, "You want to rule men by their vices." And you know, I wanted Napoleon the psychologist too, because one of the reasons why he was such an effective general, I mean, the theory goes from the smarter people, is he knew how people think. You know, you don't just become a conqueror when you don't have the loyalty of the troops. And to be loyal, be followed by the troops, you got to understand them. And
again, it's something that was not portrayed enough in the movie. Like you said and I said, we need to see that genius commander side of Napoleon more from the movie. And I'm really sad that it doesn't have enough of that badass moment that we always want to return to. Because, you know, if you think about other, Ridley Scott movies, we already mentioned Salah in Kingdom of Heaven. And we also saw Maximus from the Gladiator in the beginning of the movie. Remember that scene? We talked about that cool ass scene in the Gladiator. One of my favorite scenes is when he's like cheering his soldiers before they attack on the Germans in the German campaign, and then from the woods he rides with his men on his horse with his pet wolf, and they pop out from the fire and he says Roma Victa. That's the kind of scene I wanted from the Napoleon movie.
No,
because
there was also another scene in Gladiator because he always rubs his hand with sand.
Yeah, the sand, the earth.
Because the word is he's grounded. And here, let me tell you something. In Ridley Scott's defense, though, I feel like in the direct cut we will get to see down to earth Napoleon because there were two scenes that I loved that didn't go anywhere because he's suddenly emperor. One is when he took out the cannon from the horse and said, "This is for mother." I thought there was gonna be a dialogue.
Yeah, what's that about?
Who fucks knows? But it was an awesome scene because I felt like it was like Napoleon kind of accepting mortality a little. I mean, it's all bullshit, by the way, him charging in. But, like, him holding the cannon, his brother. Another scene I love. You know what the scene I favorite is? It's also probably bullshit. But when he tried the coup d'etat and all those bitch-ass assholes kick him out, his brother's like, I will kill him if he betrays the princely role. And Napoleon was like, what the fuck? And his brother's like,
and
whatever.
Just kind of plays along.
Yeah. So I thought that was like a really Robin Hood-esque like thing where we get to see the charm of these brothers. Like these two kids from Corsica, which is a provincial town, and you become a soldier because you want to go up the ladder.
That's right.
And then his brother's like, hey, fuck it, I don't know.
Sky's the limit.
Let's improvise.
Sky's the limit, bro.
Yeah, Scarface moment. Scarface moment. Hey, Buddha, whatever. And then, like, because I felt like they were like, if they added like 3 more scenes like that, I would have digged Napoleon.
And it would have given us a lot more charm.
Hey, let me tell you something. Remember when in Scarface, after Scarface kills and he becomes the boss, and he's in the bathtub and he's such an asshole to Michelle Pfeiffer? That works because we saw him
climb up the ladder.
Yeah, see
watch his buddy get, I mean, not buddy, but his co-worker get chainsawed.
Yeah, he almost lost his life in the club. So that's why we're like, oh shit, what happened to you, Scarface? You were such a underdog. Now you wear the crown.
And then remember, after killing the cop, was it Frank? Get one of them round tickets to Resurrection. First class tickets to Resurrection. And then he kills him. And then he gives Manny a job. That's a very human part of Scarface. He's like, you need a job, Manny?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Hey, Zezzy Joe, you're so worked up about Napoleon. I haven't seen you like this. Hey, listen, Zezzy. You know why? Because I love Ridley Scott. Like, hey, I wanna say this. This is not a criticism on Ridley Scott as a director and his whole universe. Because I'm a huge fan of Ridley Scott. I'm gonna make a confession. I watched Alien Covenant 11 times. Alien Covenant 11 times. There's always something about Ridley Scott movie that makes you think. Because in Ridley Scott's defense, though, did this feel like a movie from a director that's old?
Not at all.
Another thing I would say is like I almost feel like Ridley Scott is too smart that he ignores things that needed explaining. Because one of those like smart professors that assume the students know what he's saying, but you're like, wait a minute, who is who and who is what?
Yeah, that's a great point. Because after watching Napoleon, the theatrical version, we don't know what's in the director's cut yet, but the impression I got is I think he just made this an excuse to make a film of his fantasies. Like, I just want to make like Napoleon in his campaigns into a movie.
Yo, but Zetsy Joe, I watch all the Alien movies every year for Christmas, so I told him this. Yeah, I watch Alien. Alien 2 is my favorite, Zetsy. Hey, but in defense of Ridley Scott, even his failures are spectacular. Like really, name me a director that can like get 200 million and fuck up so beautifully. And I'm not saying this is a fuck up, because I'm saying his Exodus and Kings is a fuck up. There were some fuck ups in this movie. Like I don't watch. Like I don't watch. Hey, I don't watch every Ridley Scott film, but this one, you gotta. Hey, Zedzi, I'm talking to you and all my subscribers. Let me tell you something. It's Napoleon. Because this almost felt like Alexander the Great by Oliver Stone for me. Because, if you watch Alexander the Great by Oliver Stone, you're like, huh.
Was it the movie where Colin Farrell was Alexander?
Yeah. Let me tell you something about that movie. Oliver Stone is a great director, but that film is not his greatest work.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because it's Alexander the Great. And in Oliver Stone's defense and Ridley Scott's defense, if I'm a movie director, it takes a lot of balls to tackle Napoleon.
That's right. It's a bold subject.
Yeah. Name me a director who directed a movie called Caesar and succeeded. Maybe Shakespeare's Caesar. They get an excuse because that's the play. But let me definitely, if you want to direct a movie about a famous person, you expect some heat.
That's right. It's like you automatically know that there's no way you're gonna satisfy everybody.
Oh, Wonjin, you put it brilliantly. So I that's why I respect not Napoleon, but Ridley Scott for pulling this off.
Yeah. I mean, the only way a movie about a famous person or people is gonna work is if they themselves are involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Like NWA, Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
Like they have to be part of making the movie. So if Napoleon himself was like right next to Ridley Scott, like telling him what to do and giving him his experience, it would be excused. But he's dead, and touching on this subject, it comes along with a big risk.
Hey, Wonjin, I agree with you 100%. And in Ridley Scott's defense, I think we talked about this in the podcast last time. He's competing with himself. So in this film's defense, it's like almost like Killer of the Flower Moon by Scorsese, because I felt like Ridley Scott was trying to do something more than he did before.
Yeah.
Because, remember in the start of this podcast, I said there's a great movie in there somewhere? There is. There were scenes I felt were emotional within themselves, but I feel like if there were extra scenes, I would have felt even more. Because Josephine... let me tell you, hey, I want to talk about Josephine. The actor, Kirby, Miss Kirby played it brilliantly because you can criticize that relationship all you want, but I bet my bottom dollar that in real life, half of these couples in this earth, they have that relationship. Let me tell you something. And it was, you could almost argue that if there were other sides of Napoleon we saw, is a very human couple thing, despite being emperor and aristocrat. And listen, they're like Jay-Z and Beyonce today, because they both gained from that marriage.
Yeah.
Because Napoleon is a Corsican thug, so he married an aristocrat. So he wants to climb the ladder. And her, listen, if you watch your husband get your head chopped off by a machine you never saw before, you want some security.
And especially after being in jail and you got pregnant to survive.
Oh man, that was a great scene. Because the introduction scene was brilliant. Because her hair is cut short, right? It almost felt like they were trying to convey that she was a prisoner. And there were details in the movie that I loved, like that. And it's a marriage of convenience, but the movie keeps asking us, were there love between them? I would say, the conclusion is there was some begrudging love. Maybe not romantic and sexual love, but love of, because, remember, guys, like I said, the beginning is we see the Marie Antoinette get her head cut off, and we also see the famous... what's this?
Robespierre?
Yeah, him getting his head chopped off. And this is a cruel world. And remember that line where Napoleon said, I need allies and friends. Are you my friend? And they have this Jay-Z and Beyonce moment where they open the door and there's the press is waiting for them. And they have this vulnerable moment, like House of Cards. So I thought those details were really nice. Yeah, I guess I can already guess what you guys are going to grade Napoleon on a scale from 1 to 10. All right. Hey, do you think I ranted enough about Napoleon, or do you have more to add?
Well, I think we pretty much covered all the bases. And I gotta say that once the director's cut drops, we have to do this again. And I think it'll be a great idea for us to compare and contrast the theatrical version and the director's cut, because it's gonna answer a lot of the questions we have today.
Oh, and by the way, Napoleon's brother is played by House of Cards Spy Master. He was a great actor here, though. So, hey, I want to give a number grade. Let me go first, Wonjin. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
Okay, I was thinking 7. I was going to give it a 7.
I'm going to give it a 6 because I was actually veering between 5 and 10. But you know why I gave it a 6? Because I felt like 5 was my expectation. Because this is about Napoleon. And the marketing was pretty awesome. The trailer, I knew it says ZZ 6 out of 10. Is that your number grade too, ZZ? Yeah, because it's above average film. Napoleon, listen, Ridley Scott is a genius. Like, I feel like he could do this in his sleep. I just felt like this is a Napoleon movie, not the Napoleon the Great movie.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Let me just end it there.
And I gotta give a lot of props to Ridley Scott and the staff for pulling off this movie, especially, like, all the little details are what kind of distinguishes. They're the ones that distinguish a great director and a good director. And I'm pretty sure when you're doing like a historical epic like this, there are so many things that you have to get right. Like the way they're dressed, like the way the buildings look,
right?
All those little things. And I'm pretty sure there will be some like firearm expert criticizing the movie for not using like the proper model. Like, that model did not exist before like 1815 and blah blah blah.
Right.
They gotta get everything right. And I think Ridley Scott and his crew did a great job on making everything look realistic.
Yep.
Like all the way that, like, things that mattered, like the way they're dressed and everything. And this is especially more difficult compared to...
keep going. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
World War II movies, because we have photographs and videos of those soldiers. And if we go too far back, there's a lot of freedom because it is not as well documented. But, Ridley Scott's, the Napoleon era, the Napoleonic era, is like right in between. They have just enough evidence to tell us exactly what they look like, but not in great detail. So there are things they have to get right, and also there's a little room of creativity, and everything looked very convincing to me. Like the way the Russians are dressed, the way the French are dressed. Yeah. So I gotta say, he did a tremendous job, although it leaves me wanting more. So that's why I give it a 7. And I'm pretty sure if he pulls off another Kingdom of Heaven moment, then the director's cut will probably give him like at least an 8 or 9.
Maybe.
Yeah. So,
all right,
anything else you want to add?
ZZ with a smiley face. Yeah, I thought Joe's gonna give a 7 and Wonjin's gonna give a 6. We always think alike. It's like a micro difference, me and Wonjin. And so you would watch it uncut. I would definitely watch it uncut. Of course,
yeah. We have to watch the director's cut.
I definitely will, because I'm very religious about Ridley Scott movies. Like I watch his Blade Runner sometimes again too, because I feel like, Ridley Scott, I think, despite the interviews where he say like F you to historians, I don't think that conveys his full intention. I think he actually gives a lot of credit to his audience, because I think he doesn't explain things to give us time to think over, because some of his films do convey that. Like, there are scenes in Kingdom of Heaven where you're supposed to put in the pictures.
Yeah.
And, he's really good at conveying what a character is through very few scenes. And maybe this one is one of those things where... And I feel like Joaquin Phoenix, he got a lot of freedom to act the way he wants.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, guys, this is fiction. So as long as it's a good story, even the historians will forgive it. That's how I really felt. And this one, the problem is, it's just the story has plot holes. That was the thing.
And those holes, I hope, will be filled with the director's cut. And yeah.
I also had a problem with the ending. The epilogue. I can see why the French hated him. I mean, the Ridley Scott, because the ending said his campaigns
like
cost 3 million. I was just
3
like,
million lives.
You know, see, this reminded me a lot of a very confident director. That thing, a moral judgment like that, it's like Scorsese with The Killer of the Flower Moon, where he appears himself.
Yeah.
So the problem with the epilogue is, I felt like it should have been. The epilogue should have been Napoleon was born in Corsica. He barely spoke French. He was a gunnery officer. He won every war he fought, almost every war he fought, and then he always also killed 3 million people. So you have to ask yourself, like, what is a great man? Because the British love to say, Lord Gladstone said, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely," right? And the next line is, "Every great men are bad men." So if you're trying to say great men is bad men, say that. So I thought I want to watch the uncut version again, because if there is a 4-hour version, I want to see how that epilogue makes me feel.
Yeah.
Is it a really Tolstoy moment where, you know, war and peace and peace and war and peace and war and war and peace, and we're supposed to feel, you know, spring and autumn, all that, you know, bittersweet? No, but I felt like that was a little bit undeserved.
We'll have to see the director's cut,
Yeah.
or maybe he was just trying to balance out like his praise of Napoleon during the movie.
Yeah. Anyway,
We'll have to see.
hey, Wenjin, you want to talk about Fargo episode 4 after a break?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey guys, that's our initial thoughts on Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott. Me and Wenjin can actually talk about Ridley Scott for like 10 hours, but we're going to take a break and return in 5 minutes with Fargo season 5 episode 4. We usually don't do episode by episode for seasons, but this one is
Fargo.
Yo, it's one of our favorite shows. So we'll be back in around 5 minutes, guys. Thank you, ZZ, so much for always tuning in. Shout out to Scott Walker. Shout out to Zach Does Movie, who left a reply to us kindly. I follow your channel. We follow your channel.
Yeah.
So if you come by, please watch the ending. We did a shout out to you, and I did watch your Napoleon. I think you also had mixed feelings about it. Anyway, guys, this has been Jojin So Movie.
Jojin Movie So Awesome. I was one Jin.
And I was Joe. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Bye.
Bye.
The house is on fire.